All right, guys, once again, we are at Masimenos. This time we've run into somebody who, without any exaggeration, is truly causing a revolution in an industry that has needed it for many years now, in the creative industry. Today we're going to be speaking with Daniel Osuna, the founder and director of the NomadX movement. Daniel, how are you, brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Daniel, tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, give us the philosophy behind NomadX.
NomadX is a foundation that is built to inspire, define, and amplify the creative industry. It's an industry we need to first understand to be able to formalize it in a way that actually makes sense and belongs formally in the economic ethos.
Yeah, and without a doubt, there's certain aspects of the creative industry, let's say marketing, for example, where we have known that a business should have a minimum of 30% of its operating costs going towards marketing, but people don't value this, they don't realize it. What is it that you're doing to be able to create this value behind the product?
Well, first of all, it all starts with understanding. So what we do is we create events that bring people together. We focus on methodologies that bring in the creative sectors. We define 9 creative sectors over the years. And then we specialize in bringing these creatives together. We have conferences, workshops, concerts, but everything goes around the creative local industry. And that helps people get to know each other. And that's the first step, understanding that the economic power of the creative industry is big. Once you understand that fundamental thing, then you can start going into specific sectors and spreading this knowledge. But the events are not industry specific, so they're not just for creatives. Our events bring together concerts, great speakers. We've had like Steve Wozniak and Tony Hawk and Rodney Mullen and a bunch of other creatives, and they bring in everybody. So the fact that a lot of different people that are not industry specific come in and mix and mingle and see firsthand the power of the creative industry, that is the first step in respecting and actually getting something actually done. And because that's one of the first things, when you don't understand or when you don't know something, you're totally ignorant to it.
Tell me how the reaction you've had with the events that you've already held.
Well, we've had 14 events. We say global events, but we are a foundation. We began in Mexico. We've done 8 cities in Mexico with great success. We've had events where our medium event size is around 3,500 people.
Wow, they're considerable.
But the largest one we had was in Mexico City, where we got support by the economic secretary of Mexico. We had 90,000 people in the week.
Wow.
And we've had all the speakers from all walks of life that basically either inspire or motivate creatives, and we've had a great response. So every time we do the event, we are full. In the United States, we're a 501c3. We are a full nonprofit. In Mexico, we're also a nonprofit, and we've gotten a lot of support every time we do the event. We have around 99.9% positive feedback on social media. Everybody sees that what we're doing there is authentic, it's real, and it's not just something that is a marketing ploy.
Yeah, well, without a doubt, the creative industry has always been very misunderstood by our traditional economic system.
Yes.
What is it that led you to inspire you to start this?
Well, I've been a creative professional for 16 years. I come from an engineering and physics background, totally different from the creative world. But 5 years ago, I got to an impasse in my life where I was doing very well economically in my company, but the marketing company that I built was thriving in a way, but culturally and ethically, I started seeing that the ethos was very corrupt and very broken. And I started analyzing and talking to friends, musicians, content creators, designers, and I started seeing that this same issue, this same problem reciprocated around the other branches. And I started seeing that the common thing was that we all dealt in intangible goods and ideas, and that the traditional economy did not respect ideas. ideas, did not understand the power of these ideas. So I sometimes I got to a point where I saw, like, why don't we go to a doctor and ask him for a diagnosis, and then when he gives you a diagnosis you don't like, you don't tell the doctor, I'm not going to pay you. You pay the doctor. And think of a designer. If he makes a logo, he could be working with you for a month. Things could be very clear. You can be giving him feedback, and at the end of the day, a client might say, I don't like the logo, I'm not paying for it. And why is this common in creative and not common in other industries when it's about intellectual information and intellectual property? So I started seeing this divergence between creative and traditional economy, and I said, okay, well, this has to change. So I started investigating. I started theorizing what creative industries were, how they are divided, and started trying to see it in a more tangible way. And we came to the conclusion that the first step was bringing people together, people understanding firsthand what we do as creatives, and valuing it more as a economic principle than a form of entertainment.
And now you've divided this into 9 different branches?
Yeah.
What are those branches?
The first one is art. Then we have art, content, design, architecture, marketing, gastronomy, music, programming, and literature.
Wow, it is very diverse then. It's not your traditional art scene.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's the huge difference. I think art is a very restrictive word because I believe there's a huge, for example, fundamental difference between an artist and a creative entrepreneur.
Yes.
You can be an artist, you can paint for passion, and you express yourself, and that's beautiful. That's awesome. And someday maybe those works might be a cultural representation of something. But to be a creative entrepreneur, you have to be actually a person that wants to live off that.
Right.
And you want that to be your job. And if you want that to be your job, you have to respect it as a job. And this is something that I've seen with artists all over the world. And sometimes I run into friends who are like, oh, my paintings aren't doing well. And I see it, and I look at them, and I tell them, you're taking 3 months to finish the painting, and your client is upset. You have to be a little bit more formal. So it's awesome that to create pieces of art, but if you want to live off that, you have to be a little bit more geared towards formal economy. When you have a consumer that might have a time restraint, or might have something that he or she wants to accomplish. So that's why we divided the areas into these nine sections, because art is something that is aesthetically pleasing, it's beautiful, but when you want to make art an economic product, then it has a price, it has a consumer, it has a marketing need, it has all these kinds of things that any tangible product needs. So, for example, tattoo is a form of art. But when you sell them, when you actually want it to be your life work, you have to understand that it has to have a price. You have to be good at what you do. You have to offer quality. You have to offer anything any tangible economic product would offer.
So for those artists or creatives out there that are lacking that pragmaticism for the traditional economy, what do you suggest should be the first step they take to be able to adapt better?
Well, first of all, if you want to do something formally with your life, you have to do it. A lot of people try to do it partially, or they're afraid to jump in. Today's creative ethos allows for a single person to, in front of a computer, to develop something creative, commercialize it directly. You could be from a film to a music album. So the first thing you have to do is get the knowledge you need to create your creative product, and do it. Don't put excuses. Stop spending your money on stuff you don't need. Spend money on things. Save. You could actually save for 3-4 months. Work telemarketing if you have to. But with those 3 to 4 months, you're going to have enough money to buy that camera, that computer, that software that you might need, and then take your time off to learn about that and tutorials and read. So the first step is to just do it. It doesn't matter what they say. If your parents say, "Oh, you get a real job," it is a real job. Eventually, we'll be strong enough to show this into the face of the traditional economy. But the first step is to do it, and the second step is to discipline yourself. You have to understand that you are running a business, and that investment you did in that camera, that computer, that software, those classes, is an investment. It's not an expenditure. So as an investment, you have to protect it, and you have to protect it by being more formal, trying to work certain hours of the day, trying to have a path, a process. The beautiful thing about doing what you love as a job is that eventually, you don't have to follow Monday through Friday. My most productive day is Sunday. Right. I love working on Sundays, but it's a day that I can focus. I can be very creative. I can focus on things I need to do creatively without a lot of distractions, and just get that discipline. So the number one thing is do it. The number 2 thing is get disciplined. The number 3 thing is become a member of the community. Is share what you learn, share what you've done, and also share your doubts and learn from other people. So when you have those 3 things or these 3 elements, that's the key to do it. And you might think, like, how am I going to share, or how am I going to learn from other people if there's no tattoo convention or tattoo group in my city, or graffiti or photography or architecture? There is. That's the worst part. That there's these creative areas are so popular that there's a lot of people that do it, and all you have to do is really dig in to find the people, start meeting the people that are doing cool things around you, and when you learn and share with them, you're gonna also respect and support them, and that by itself is gonna lead you away from negative areas in creative like ego and me, and steer you towards community and building. And one of the first things I tell creatives when I give a conference is we have to understand what success means to a creative. So if I'm a designer and I love to design something in terms of industrial design, and that's my passion. If I'm able to be 85 and be able to do this and put food on the table and have a worthy lifestyle, that is success. Any creative that gets to do what he loves when he's old and is able to put food on the table is a success. So the measure for true success for a creative individual is not a yacht. It doesn't come in brands. It doesn't come in retirement, because when you're a true creative, retirement doesn't exist.
You don't want to retire,
You
right?
never want to retire. So we have to understand that we are different than the traditional economy in many ways. But that difference is both a blessing and a curse. And a blessing in a way that we know exactly what makes us happy. And a curse that we have to swim against media, social media, movies, everything telling you that happiness is something else.
Right.
So I can tell you that when I create an awesome brand, when I get to work on a brand that I'm building from the ground up, that is happiness to me. That is bliss. And when I see that brand in the streets and the project being developed, and that is happiness to me. And understanding that, led me to detach from a lot of material things and actually focus my life and energy on what matters.
So we talk about having a different mentality. I've experienced that when it comes to creatives, there's a bit of jealousy and overguarding your tactics, your pricing methods, that kind of deal. what you're trying to do is break all this.
Yes.
How have you been able to do this?
Well, first of all, it is by, as I said, congregation. First, we bring people together. And when you bring people together, when you know people, you start to respect or more easily respect other people. Then is by sharing all this knowledge. So in all these analyses, I've seen that there's several issues that plague all creative branches internally. So first is ego. Ego is a huge problem in the creative industries because we are defending pretty much things that are, intangible. So we're like, oh, what's beautiful, what's not, what's aesthetically pleasing, and what is not. Something very sometimes dogmatic that you have to believe in somebody else but doesn't have to be that way. So ego. First, then we have competition. We don't understand how to compete openly and fairly, and the importance of competition. Sometimes in the traditional economy, you are taught from when you're a kid that competition builds better products.
Right.
So it's better for the consumer. When people compete, they start elevating their craft. And that happens the same in creatives. When you're competing with a graffiti artist, you might raise the stakes. You might raise your art, and it will force you to get better. So competition is good. Then we have ethics. When we don't have community, we have a lack of ethics. We don't have these standardized ethics that exist in very formal economies. When you have, for example, a construction company that screws over another construction company, it becomes a matter of like the headline of the paper, and it could be lawsuits. But when that happens with between marketing companies or musicians, it becomes very difficult to generate any buzzworthiness or newsworthiness because we don't respect it as much. Right now we've seen a lot of cases with music and copyright infringement or intellectual property infringement, but it's because the artists that are being sued are huge. But why don't we see it in smaller levels? And then we have pricing. Pricing is a problem because we don't know what to charge. So every designer I've talked to that has gone to 4-year colleges to paying hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of education, they want to be creative entrepreneurs. They want to do their own design thing. How much should I charge for this? That's the first problem. They don't understand what to charge and how to charge and basis of what. And why are we educating people in 4-year universities and then not giving them the tools to actually succeed as entrepreneurs?
Right.
But the fact is that we're very, as you said, jealous about pricing, and all these things are because we are very unsure. We are very unsure of how we're going to eat tomorrow, maybe, because we don't have a community and ethos that we can see as a success path. A doctor's not going to worry about that because he knows that people are going to need medicine, and there's an industry for that, and there's pricing models. So people don't vary that much because there's certain trust in their own industry. And the creatives, since we are economically, we're a huge part of the economy, but we're not represented in that economy because we don't feel like we're represented. So once we start seeing that we are represented, that we are important, and the traditional industry starts respecting us, that's going to start to change. And we're going to start to see a lot more trust in ourselves. And we're going to see trust from outside as well. That's going to translate into parents believing in their kids when they tell them, I want to be a chef. Like, oh no, get a real job. I don't want you cooking. No, the chef is something. Wow, it's something not just beautiful, but it's economically very profitable if you do it well. So it's these 4 areas that we want to battle in our foundation, and as I said, the first step is congregation, and that's why we bring people together with our events.
Daniel, thank you so much for the opportunity. I feel thrilled by this. I think that you have a great mind. You've definitely approached this that is very much needed, and you're taking it by storm. It's definitely something new. Before we let you go, is there any last words you would like to offer our audience?
Well, if you want to be more in touch with us, we are a true foundation. We are a true nonprofit. So you can't expect the whole corporate customer service thing. But if you want to be more connected to us, you can follow us in our social networks. Social networks are all MOV NomadX. So it's or you could look at us up at our webpage, which is NomadX.foundation. And basically, just do the steps 1, 2, 3, fight against the traditional economy and unite and create. And I think there's nothing more beautiful than that.
We appreciate you so much.
Thank you, man.